All right. We have this is our first Kickstart This of 2020, and we have one of our favorite local creatives here with his project.
We froze, Ben.
Happened. This is starting off great.
I'm pretty sure
doing that because we're still here. Just, you know, connectivity, it happens every once in a while. We can't control that. The Kickstarter you're going to want to look into, and Eben, you let me know when you're back, is called Tiny Wizards. And there he is. So okay, I was just telling a little bit about it. Why don't we jump into it? Why don't you tell us what you're doing right now?
Oh, well, right now, for Tiny Wizards?
Yeah.
We're doing a Kickstarter. The Kickstarter is going to end on Friday, which will be Friday at 8. The comic book is a graphic novel series, so we're trying to make kind of an extra thick first issue, and all of the issues will kind of be that like Tintin-esque range of pages. So there'll be these like really wonderful one-off kind of books that will tell the story of a kingdom of little wizards. They're probably going to be the size of like about a coffee mug or a French fry, and their whole entire kingdom got transported into a truck stop, essentially. So it's the burger joints and gas stations and those places that you travel on the 5 or the 99, and you're like, what happens in this city when I'm not getting my gas? That's where the little tiny wizards live.
Killer truck stop that inspired this and made you think about it?
Yeah, actually, so when we first pitched Bee Squad to Starburns Industries, my colleague and I, Mike Finn, who's going to do the lettering for the book, we went down there, and on the way back, we took the 99, and like we kept stopping at these places, and one was called Bravo Farms. It's this little like, I don't know how to explain it. It's like a very rustic thing, but they have all these like really kitschy little spots. Like there's a tree that's growing in the backyard that has a tree house, but there's like Tonka trucks all over, and it's very strange. It's just an oddity. There's another one that's called Casa de Fruta, and that's like between like the 101 and the 5, I think. Maybe like the 152. It's just north of Hollister. But it's like everything is a different de Fruta. There's Casa de like gas, there's Casa de Burrito, there's a miniature train track there. So all those things like kind of really inspired like the long car ride, you know, with nothing else to think about. Let's think about little wizards and peacocks and weird little things
that nobody knows about.
Yeah, exactly.
Right now, the Kickstarter is live. Yeah. People don't want to wait because we've only got a few more days until it's done.
Yeah.
And yes, and I have contributed. So this is something I think all of you guys should get behind. And you guys will know Eben, of course. You've seen him here in the shop. You've seen him at the other shops. You have other works that you've done. Of course, most notably, to begin with anyways, was Eben 07, which you worked with Dan Bethel on.
Yeah.
And then, go ahead.
No, I love that. That was definitely our first big one.
Squad, though, has been a lot of fun, and it was a really novel idea. That's available now. Let's tell them a little bit about that in case they haven't heard of it. I don't know how they wouldn't.
Yeah, Bee Squad's a like send up of like Suicide Squad or any of these like big team up things like the A Team. But what if A Team wasn't exactly A Team and they were Bee Squad? And through doing their kind of like ridiculous adventure missions, every issue I would roll a die to see which character was the most expendable, and I would kill them off the series, replace them with a new one. And then in kind of the meta of it all, we also used it as like a, for under-discovered artists, we kind of use it as their first gig in comics, their first paid gig in comics. So every issue we'd change the art style up too. The characters would be the same, but the art style would kind of shift. So everything was a little bit expendable, if you will. And then we've done 10 issues of that. I think we'll probably get back to making that again. But when Starburns so kindly picked it up and kind of made it their another one of their mantelpieces to kind of push as a cartoon and let it make comics in the background. We're going to hopefully redo a few issues and then also get back to making volume 3, hopefully this year, fingers crossed, for luck, not for any other reason. But I already have like the characters lined up. I already have the missions lined up. It's just a matter of getting the creative team and the money and making sure everybody gets paid for their work.
To get it, they can find it. I know they can find it here. Where else in town can they find it?
I think most shops probably still have the volume collections. The very first issue of B Squad, though, that was like remastered and re-released by Starburns Industries, was a San Diego Comic-Con exclusive. I still have copies of that, so if I'm at signings, I bring them out. You can get it through the Kickstarter. But we never sent them out into stores yet. We've talked about it, but because it was a exclusive for a convention, we've kind of been a little bit like, yeah, we should save it for when we're at conventions.
To track you down to get this, it's not just going to be sitting on the shelf. It's special.
Yeah.
So no, do you think you'll have some available at Free Comic Book Day here?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. So it's, I really like the soul of that. Like, I really like the human connection. And I mean, I love brick and mortar stores. Everybody knows that. But the idea of, I think when we talked about it with Starburns, like the idea of kind of helping to amplify this like growing little boutique studio through connecting with people at conventions was really kind of the goal we had for last year. And I don't know if it worked or not, but we definitely met a lot of really exciting people, a lot of people that were really excited to discover that Starburns is also making like cassette tapes and really kooky cassette tapes in some cases, like improv novellas, odd audio. There's all sorts of them. I have a whole big collection. We did Dan Harmon's rap album. That's sold out, of course. But we did a whole bunch of really kooky stuff in the last couple of years, and we're hopefully going to do a whole bunch more in 2020.
Of course. Let's get back to that. I have two questions. Well, number one, I want you to tell us about your artist that you're working with on this.
Oh, yeah.
New artist that you've worked up or working with, right?
Yeah, I've never worked with Dean before. Dean's been a gem. I mean, I've been cooking up tiny wizards in the background for a while, and I saw he did a drawing and has a pretty nice Instagram following. And the drawing he did was of the captain from Jaws, Captain Quint, in a like fight boxer pose with Captain Haddock from Tintin, and I'm a huge Tintin fan, and just something about that was like, oh, I'm gonna click like and subscribe to this guy. And over a couple of years, I got to really know his work and really see how he was doing a lot of cool things. He even did like a book of poetry that's an illustrated book of poetry, but it's all about criminals, called Bad Words, and it's fantastic. It's a really, really lighthearted and fun. Doesn't take itself too seriously, and the illustrations are all wonderful. So he's doing that small press kind of boutique style of making comics. Every day illustrating. He does lots of really great. He does some really cool Star Wars stuff. Like he just finished a really rad Boba Fett, and he did another thing that was like I think it was an illustration for the UK Empire magazine of a bunch of like Baby Yoda, but Baby Chewbacca and baby Kylo Ren's, and it was a whole bunch of little babies in the cockpit of the Millennium Falcon. We're playing the Jarek in the Millennium Falcon. It was really cool.
You were a fan, and you got to finally work with him. That is great.
Yeah.
And here we go with going off with Tiny Wizards. So Two more questions, actually. I said I had two, but I actually had three. The first one is really quick. You have a pretty funny video on the Kickstarter of you essentially behind the scenes at a fast food place. When you guys drove up to that fast food place, was it closed or did you just sit in that line?
Oh, no. That was 100% guerrilla.
I didn't think that they were okay.
No, we just ran up. I mean, we only did exterior shots for that. We just bought some French fries from the local wiener schnitzel here, and and I just took shots. And I think we tried another restaurant, and they kind of really were looking at us a little funny. I think it was the McDonald's that's on Broadway here. They were kind of giving us some like weird looks, and then so we went down to the street to the wiener schnitzel, and they didn't even notice. I don't think, but it's actually kind of tricky to shoot guerrilla in a drive-through because most of the time the drive-through is like really, really narrow, and you can't get like a big wide shot like of the car pulling up. It was actually kind of tricky to find the perfect location, but we shot most of that all in one night. As you do with Kickstarter videos. I mean, they should be playful and not this like highfalutin thing. They should be just fun, as the books are. Why
don't you give us a rundown on what they can expect from the tiers? I mean, you don't have to give me a breakdown of every single one, but just some of the things that they can get by supporting your Kickstarter.
Well, we kind of tried to structure it like you would do it like maybe an In-N-Out, where we have our basic burger, and then you can add fries and a Coke, and then from there, and the fries are like socks, and the Coke is like a T-shirt. So we got those like very standard levels for your Kickstarter. But then some of like the kind of crazier things is we are going to do like variant sketch covers. I mean, one thing I've learned is doing conventions and things over the years is that there's so many illustrators that become fans of books, and then they want to like illustrate they want their own like kind of cover that's their unique cover. So that's something fans and the illustrators want. So we're going to do a very short run of number one variant covers. You can get Dean to draw on those. I'm going to do some doodles. Dean's going to do some doodles. So those are our Employee of the Month drawings. You can commission those from us. I've got tape wizards and tape unicorns that are made out of tape that you can get. But one of the most crazy ones is you can pay us a lot of money and go to Starburns Industries animation studio with us, and we'll eat a whole bunch of burgers and fries, go tour the animation studio, kind of see what they're working on, and that's going to be a lot of fun. Having gone down there now a few times, the animation studio is really cool, and there's a lot of really cool stuff to see. But obviously, you can maybe find a couple friends to pile that into, and then pony it all up for one big get. But there's also, you can sponsor a workshop, a comic book workshop. That's, I think, also a really cool pledge level. I get asked to do comic book workshops like all over the world, no joke. And one thing, sometimes when people ask, they don't have any budget, so you can sponsor one of those things and turn what would be maybe a no for me, or like, I got to see if I can afford this kind of for me, into a yes by backing at that level.
For everybody, whether you just want the book, whether you want a few little extras, or you want to supersize it, it's all there.
Yeah, we're even doing a thing where retailers can obviously buy the book at a discounted price, but you can also back at the library level. Libraries, I've done a lot of workshops at libraries now too, and every library has a very elaborate comic book section. So reading is reading, and you want to make reading as easy as you can for anybody. So you can also pledge, if you want to be unselfish, you can pledge at a level that allows for that library donation. You'll get a book, and I'll send a whole bunch to a library and donate them in your name.
Libraries and schools both are so accepting of comic books nowadays.
Yeah.
Fantastic. I wouldn't have had to hide them all the time when I was in school when I was a kid.
It's so weird how there's been like a really great cultural shift in that, like where comic books are reading again, schools get it. But I mean, I've even had experiences where I've gone into a school, I've met teachers who are a little bit like, comics, really? Like, why is this here? I've had to But after they've seen my workshop and see the kids engage with it, they get it, and the teachers even get it, and they start integrating comic books even into their curriculum. Like, I'll never forget one of my favorite teachers that I met here in Sacramento. She was a very reluctant, like, how is comics going to work? It's just going to make my students draw and not listen to me. But she ended up taking my workshop and applying that to her science lesson that, like, later that week, and they all drew comics about photosynthesis, and the kids had fun. They learned about the subject matter, and they made little comic books that all turned out really, really adorably.
Here, well, everybody, well, thank you, Eben, for joining us, and of course, everybody go look up Kickstarter Tiny Wizards and take a peek at what he's got. And if you like what you see, please pledge. You've only got a few days left to get in.
Yeah, we're at, I think, right around $6,000, and we need about 1,500 more before Friday. So we definitely have our work cut out for us, but I think we're going to make it. And a basic backing of $15 will get you the book no matter what, and some surprise insides.
Well, thank you very much, Eben. Everybody go take a peek and support it if you like it. We will see you guys in the shop.